closer look.
A sleepy morning, we're out in the boondocks. Stories being told on the red clay.
I want to ride my bicycle. I want to ride my bike. I want to ride my bicycle. I want to ride it where I like.
Today's program is titled Bicycles and the Art of Sharing.
Get on your bike, sit on the seat, put your feet on the pedal, and run all around, run all around. Get on your bike, sit on the seat, put your feet on the pedal, and run all around, run all around. Get that car out of my way, I wanna ride my bike today. Keep me fit, get me there, I won't go stinking up the alley behind the daily grind. Let your mind unwind, if it's life, pretend to life, better get yourself a bike.
Bicycles in summertime go hand in hand in this capital city of Bavaria. Since the summer of 2010, Munich has self-proclaimed this fine city, having more than 1,200 kilometers of bike paths, as the bicycle capital of Germany. Cycling in Munich accommodates nearly 20% of all city traffic. In fact, local folks say that if you have a distance that is less than 6 kilometers, that the fastest way to get there is on a bike. It's no wonder why around 80% of the people in Munich own a bike. So I thought, what better place to take a closer look at what drives bicycles than the top bicycle component manufacturer in the USA, who are truly passionate about what they do for and with bicycles. On the phone, I have the president and CEO and chairman of the board for the largest U.S. bicycle components manufacturer and the second largest in the world, Mr. Stan R. Day. Stan, are you there?
I am. Nice to talk with you, Dan.
It's my pleasure to have you on the phone. In each of my segments, A Closer Look, I'm always looking for people who do things differently, and especially people who achieve outstanding results. You fall into both categories. 25 years ago, when you started this organization called SRAM, did you have any idea that you would have this kind of success that you have now 25 years later?
When we started the company back in 1987, we were just focused on making an innovative shifter for bicycles. And at the time, we really could not see beyond that single component of shifters. But over time, we've been able to grow the organization to provide all of the components on a bike. Anything that moves on a bike, we make.
Before you started this organization, did you have some sort of an affinity for bicycles? I mean, did you spend much time on bicycles yourself?
I was a weekend triathlete, which means not very competitive, but I enjoyed it. And I did a little bit of touring. My peer group, I probably did a lot of bicycling, but as I've been in the industry now for a while, I can see that there are people that do a lot more than I do.
You clearly had a love for bicycles.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed sports, and the more I cycled, the more I loved it.
In terms of what's different about your management style that drives your teams who work under you, what would you want to share that's different about your management style that makes people operate at their best?
I think what's key with our management style is that we listen really, really well, and we try to empower people to take the initiative and to lead and to create ideas. And our company is all about innovation. Really, we are a product development company, and that's the most fun thing that we do, and it's what gets everybody up in the morning. And if you're a product development company, you have to love ideas, and you have to be responsive to ideas, and you have to take risks, and you have to make people feel safe taking risks. And that's what we do as an organization. It's pretty exciting.
Pardon the pun, but I'd really like to hear your gears turning, since innovation clearly is a key component within the components you produce at SRAM, some of which have totally revolutionized the bicycle industry. Can you tell me about the components that you develop for driving futuristic bicycles like the electric bike?
We've got a big design center in Schweinfurt, just nearby you, and some of the electronic innovations that we're creating relative to electronic bicycles are coming out of that facility. And we're working closely with some of the electronic drivetrain producers to create automatic shifting and create better power management for those drivetrains. In addition to what we're doing in partnership with other drivetrain manufacturers, we have developed 2 different generations of electric power assist drivetrains for bikes, and it's been really exciting to be in that space.
Are there other visions that we may see coming over the horizon on 2 wheels in the near or not so distant future?
Bicycles are an interesting product because, for the most part, if we go away from electric bicycles to, say, normal bicycles, they're powered by lungs and legs, and so there's a real need to make them lighter, less rolling resistant, more aerodynamic, and simpler. And there's still a long way to go to work on each one of those parameters to make bikes more efficient, fun, and effective.
Besides your key target of constantly making bicycles better, you are involved in a number of charitable programs. Can you tell me something about the SRAM Cycling Fund, for example?
We set up the SRAM Cycling Fund a half dozen years ago, and we funded it with $10 million to support advocacy in the U.S., Europe, and also in Asia to create better cycling infrastructure. You know, in Europe, there's a longer tradition of using bikes on the road and for transportation, and cycling infrastructure in Northern Europe is fairly well developed in terms of bike lanes and such. But as you move farther to the south, it's not quite as well developed. So our effort in cycling advocacy is to fund and empower the local advocates to request that the local governments would improve cycling infrastructure such as bike lanes. It's been a very successful program both in the U.S. and in Europe. Frankly, creating safe places for people to ride is probably the most important thing as an industry we can do.
Well, I certainly agree with that. Living here in Munich, we have dedicated bicycle lanes, and I believe something like 17% of the traffic in the city is on bicycles.
That's terrific, and I look forward one day to the U.S. catching up with Europe. In the U.S. every day there are 75 million automobile trips that are taken that are less than 3 miles in length. It's incredible, the opportunity that bicycles have to replace that kind of driving around in cars.
I also noticed that you are a board member of a humanitarian organization called World Bicycle Relief. How do you in the SRAM organization support them in their mission?
My brother and his wife started World Bicycle Relief back in 2005 after the Indian Ocean tsunami. And as an organization, we were looking for ways to contribute to the relief of that disaster. And they flew over to the area, and what they discovered was that people were walking. The road infrastructure had been destroyed, vehicles had been destroyed, and people were really constrained in how they were able to get around. And what we thought at the time was that more than donating money, we could facilitate, through our knowledge of the bicycle industry, delivering bikes into the devastated area and get people back mobilized, riding a bike and having the carrying capacity to really improve their productivity.
Absolutely fantastic. Stan, it's been my pleasure speaking with you.
Dan, really enjoyed it.
On the phone, I have Leah Missbach Day, the co-founder of World Bicycle Relief, which she started in response to the Sri Lanka tsunami with relief efforts back in 2005. Hello, Leah, are you there?
Hello, I sure am.
Nice to speak to you. Back when you started this, how many bicycles did you supply to Sri Lanka after the disaster?
24,351.
Wow. The impact of that had to be phenomenal.
It was an interesting learning curve. We really wanted to address the disaster with something we believed in, and with careful measuring and evaluating, we actually learned exactly how the bicycle helped people that were displaced.
The bike that you supply is like a staple bike. I think it's called the Buffalo bike. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you briefly describe how one of these Buffalo bikes look?
It's a heavy steel, single speed. It has a cross tube that has a slight curve, so it's gender neutral bicycle. Men and women both feel quite comfortable on it. We kind of call it 50 pounds of love because it's got great durability. It's heavy duty. It withstands torrential rainstorms, and the soot from the fine dirt that gets muddy and caked doesn't creep into the parts and ruin it. And it's heavy duty in that the carrying capacity on the back rack can do about 250 kgs. We're always evolving it and making it better while keeping the price down. Yes. And there's a few other ideas in the works, a few more models. We've got balloon width tires. We're working on an internal gear hub so that some of the people that carry super duper heavy loads can have a couple gears for hilly terrain.
Yeah.
Some other things like corn husker. We're working on an aftermarket kind of add-on product that'll shuck a ear of corn.
Cool.
With pedal power.
So it isn't a very staple product, not just a bicycle.
It is. The only thing that really sets it apart from what's already on the ground in the areas that we're working in is the quality. It's the same type of bike. It has the same goals, but other bicycles within the same price category tend to fall apart quite quickly. And when you're spending your $134 of your hard-earned income could be take you 3-6 months to save up, you can't afford to have it fall apart. Or if, let's say you're a dairy farmer and you bring in your milk to a central cooling chamber co-op, and you do this twice a day to make your income, 365 days a year, you need your bike. You depend on it. And so we've seen several bicycle-like objects still trying to bring in that milk, where pedals have fallen off and brakes don't work anymore and the rack is kind of flimsy, and that's not the case with ours, I can safely say.
So the three areas that you focus on are what? Education, healthcare, and what you just mentioned, the entrepreneurs?
That's right. Economic development, economic opportunity.
Can you give me an example for education and perhaps also for healthcare?
For education, we call it BEEP, Bicycles for Educational Empowerment, and we provide the bicycles to students most in need, and it's a commitment to own arrangement where they have to stay in school. And if for some reason they quit or stop, they're required to return the bicycle. And there's a supervisory committee self-selected by the leaders in the community, the village chief or chiefess, the headmaster, the PTA members, the parents that are involved, and a couple of students. So it's comprised of 10 people that select who amongst the school is most in need and keeps everybody honest. And they also monitor the usage of the bicycle. Basically, it keeps the children in school. That's what its intended use is for. And the children are the ones that own it. With healthcare, it's also a work-to-own program. The healthcare workers, they're volunteer. So they do what they love to do, which is take care of each other. It's a very loving culture that really catches people most in need. And so other NGOs come in and take this volunteer sensibility of people and train them with drug usage and how to really monitor and keep people healthy. And what the bicycle does is it keeps these volunteers staying in the program, because what had happened before was these healthcare workers were sent out walking with their new trained knowledge of how to take care of HIV, AIDS, TB, malaria. And then the heavy rains come, and they can't go. They can't cross the river. They have to walk around it, and so that takes too long. Or maybe one of their babies gets sick at home. But now with the bicycle, they can do it all and see more patients on a regular basis. So there's more consistency all across the board.
Wow. Which area of the world are we referring to? You're doing a lot of work now in Africa?
We do. We work in Southern Africa We have assembly facilities in 5 countries, and then we distribute out of those into 11. So the countries where we are assembling are Zimbabwe, Zambia, South Africa, Kenya, and Angola. We also have new programs. We're excited to branch out. We're going into Peru, Philippines, and hopefully, cross your fingers, we're going to launch a program in Colombia very soon.
I saw on your website that a bicycle can save up to 3 hours for someone who has to walk 10 miles. So a round trip of walking 10 miles can save them up to 6 hours. That's the better part of a working day.
That's right. Isn't that great? And think about walking from sun up to sundown, because we're working in areas that don't have bountiful street lamps. The roads after dark are quite dangerous because the edges of the road are very dark. So, especially if they're walking, you are racing the sun. Here's a real easy example. A student named Pauline. She's age 11. She's in grade 7. And she has the typical chores that young African girls have to do, washing plates, sweeping, taking care of the children, making the breakfast. She gets up before sunrise and gets all this stuff done and sets off for her walk to school. And her walk to school is kind of short. It's only about 2.8 kilometers, but it takes her an hour. She's little, she can't go that fast. And it's hilly where she lives. So it takes her an hour one way and takes her to get back. And she's really dedicated to her family. She comes home when there's food at home to cook lunch for everybody. Now with the bike, she can do this commute in 10 to 15 minutes, get it all done, and not be all worn out, take care of her family, take care of her education, get some homework done, and, enjoy a bike ride.
Fantastic. What are some of the plans you have for the near and distant future?
That's such an exciting question. We're really jazzed about this work, which is a large volume bicycle program in Zimbabwe. It's 70,000 bikes primarily for girl students. And the neatest thing about this program is it's addressing a lot of needs of the community. There's still an interesting amount of misunderstanding of how important an education is. Because when the children become big enough and strong enough, they can work for the family. And that's direct income today. And people forget to think about the future because of all these diseases. You never know what's going to happen. So people don't have a mindset sometimes to think, well, if my girl stays in school a couple more years, she is likely to earn 20% more income for each year she stays in school. We're almost 10 years old, so now they can see some results. Oh, wow, my child went to school, or my sister's child was the first of 5 of the kids to go to school, and look at how well she's doing, and now she's earning income for our families.
Around how many bicycles have you provided to developing countries?
This year, we will be 10 years old, and we will be over 200,000 bikes in the field.
So if our listeners would like to get involved, what's the web address that they can go to? www.worldbicyclerelief.org?
That's right.
Any parting words of wisdom?
We really just want to say thank you, because there's no way to do it without the support of the other people you're going to interview within this program, Stan Day, Evie Stevens, and to our supporters. It's inspiring, and we need you, and we love you. And you, too, couldn't do it without you.
Bless you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. You're wonderful.
But what a shame it would be to look back on our lives and realize that I've taken you and you for granted. 'Cause people are gonna be okay. Storms never come to stay. They just show us how bad we need each other. How bad we need each other. And the trials of today, they are signs along the way to remind us how bad we need each other. How bad we need each other. And I cannot see what's a mile around the bend. And I do not know where this world is headed or where it may end. But you gave me this smile I found. And I ain't gonna pick up what I just put down. People are gonna be okay. Storms never come to stay. They just show us how bad we need each other. How bad we need each other.
On the phone, I have Evelyn Evie Stevens. She's an American professional road cyclist riding with the team Specialized-LuluLemon. She competed for the United States in the women's road race at the 2012 London Summer Olympics, and she is an active ambassador for World Bicycle Relief. Hello, Evie, are you there?
I'm here. Hi, Dan. How are you?
Very well. How are things in the U.S.?
They're great. I just returned from Germany, so it's nice to be home in San Francisco.
Tell me about it. Where were you in Germany? What were you doing here in Europe?
I was over racing my bicycle. First, I was in Italy racing the Giro Rosa, and then I was in the Thuringen region of Germany doing the 7-day stage race there.
You haven't always been a professional road cyclist. You were raised in Massachusetts, and you worked in New York City as a professional New York investment analyst. How did you make the jump into working in cycling?
I was living in New York City doing the Wall Street grind, and my sister introduced me to cycling, and I immediately fell in love with the freedom that, riding a bike gave me, racing a bike gave me. And next thing I knew, I decided to quit my job and give it a go in the pro cycling world.
Since you started racing competitively, you've been taking first place in nearly every competition that you've entered.
Not every competition that I've entered.
Okay.
Coming to the sport a little bit later in life gives you a different perspective on the opportunity that I have. So, yeah, once I started, I just fell in love with it. And when I'm on my bike, I just give it everything I have.
For the first time ever, a women's team will be competing in the Trois Étapes Tour, which presents some very grueling climbs through the French Pyrenees Mountains. I believe this is actually the place where many racers drop out in the Tour de France. Can you tell me how you prepare yourself for such climbs and such races?
Yes, it's really exciting that there's the first all-women's team, and it's an honor to be the professional rider on this team to lead them through the climbs. So much of being able to go up those big mountain ranges, times just training, riding hours on the bike, and then perhaps more than half of it is mental preparation, just knowing that it will not be easy, but that's the beauty of it.
Besides being a professional road cyclist on Team Specialized-LuluLemon, you're an ambassador for the World Bicycle Relief Organization. Can you please tell me and our listeners about how you promote both women's cycling and I believe they're called the Buffalo Bicycles in developing countries like Africa?
Personally, the bicycle has transformed my life. And when I was introduced to World Bicycle Relief, I quickly saw how this amazing organization was transforming the lives of many girls and boys and adults in developing countries. I actually got to go last year to Zambia and see firsthand what this program is doing through the Buffalo Bicycle. I would say my impact is very small in trying to support World Bicycle Relief, but I try to raise awareness and money through sharing their story, my story with World Bicycle Relief through the following and fan base that I have as a professional cyclist.
Do you have any final comments that you would like to share with our listeners about what it means for you to be involved promoting a humanitarian organization like World Bicycle Relief and how others can get involved?
There's great ways, even if you're anywhere in the world, ways to support World Bicycle Relief. A great way right now is to actually support the all-women's team who was racing in support of World Bicycle Relief at Tualatin Tops. And there is if you go to the World Bicycle Relief homepage, there is a fundraising page, and it's $134 goes to one Buffalo bicycle. And going to Zambia and watching how one bicycle can change the lives of an entire family and community, it's a very small amount to have a huge impact.
Well, you've definitely touched my heart. Evie Stevens, I thank you so kindly for taking the time, for sharing with us and our listeners.
Great. Thank you so much, Dan.
You're welcome. Have a great day. The art of sharing. Yes, Makossa means dance. And I can only imagine that's what's happening within the hearts of the individuals in these developing countries when they receive a Buffalo bicycle from World Bicycle Relief. For when they receive this bicycle, it's radical. It's life-transforming. The ways in which each of us can help others is limitless, especially if you help others doing something that you're very passionate about. There's plenty of good going on in this world, and it always starts with the act of a single individual. If you want to find good, keep on looking. You'll find it.
Life will try to take your innocence and your grace, but no matter what comes to your door, you've got to keep looking for something good in this world. Oh, keep on looking.
We certainly hope you have enjoyed traveling with us once again through the USA. And perhaps one of these stories about living life with passion will inspire you. On behalf of the folks here at Radio LORA, get on your bike, sit on your seat, put your feet on the pedals.
Just move on.